You want me to put that on my Tudor?
The presence and absence of emotional empathy. Probably the most distinguishing factor between a narcissist and a non-narcissist is the issue of emotional empathy. Narcissists have no emotional empathy whatsoever. Some of us have cognitive empathy, meaning that we are able to understand the way that a person responds, the way that a person acts, and recognize what that means and respond accordingly. Some narcissists do not have this cognitive empathy, but no narcissist has emotional empathy, meaning the narcissist does not feel the response. The narcissist does not have an instinctive response governed by emotional empathy with regard to caring, exhibiting compassion, being honest and decent, having a particular moral compass, recognizing boundaries, demonstrating accountability, etc. Non-narcissists, be they narcissistic, normal, or empaths, all have emotional empathy in varying degrees. Narcissistic individuals have limited emotional empathy and therefore don't often show it, and when they do, it's not in large amounts. When it comes to normal people, they have emotional empathy for a small group of people, their family, their friends, their colleagues, neighbours, but that emotional empathy is extensive for the few that are in receipt of it. Empaths have a lot of emotional empathy for a lot of people, and as you know from my work, there are different types. One of the useful ways of understanding narcissism and the way that non-narcissists behave is to see how emotional empathy is exhibited. And as usual, comparisons can be drawn between Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who's an empath and therefore has a lot of emotional empathy, and she is instinctively guided by it. It influences and drives her behaviours with regard to how she interacts with people. It demonstrates its presence with regard to the way that she looks at people, the way that she touches people, the way that she talks to people. Where emotional empathy is absent, then the individual that is concerned may behave in a way where they're haughty, arrogant, dismissive, that they are unpleasant. Some narcissists, as you know, have cognitive empathy, so they are able to create the appearance of caring and being compassionate and being honest and decent in order to fit in, but it's not genuine. It has to be manufactured. The narcissism does that on behalf of the narcissist, learning from previous experiences and utilizing those previous experiences to say, right, in this situation, I need to behave this way. But it doesn't always get it right. As I've explained elsewhere, the cherry picker of the imitation game goes off to that virtual warehouse to try and select the appropriate response, a package of responses of words that are used, the tone that's used, the facial expression, the body language, which is then brought back and bolted onto the narcissist. Sometimes it's brought back very quickly and fits like a glove, meaning that you wouldn't realise you're dealing with a narcissist. Sometimes there's a slight delay, but most people don't know of that. It's only the trained eye that picks up on it. In other instances, what comes back doesn't quite fit, and you're left with a somewhat incongruous response from the narcissist, which might cause you to start wondering about their behaviour. And in some instances, nothing comes back at all, leading to the 404 moment. I'm going to show a short piece of footage which enables you to see the differences between Harry's wife and Catherine, Princess of Wales, so that you can see the absence of emotional empathy with Harry's wife and its presence when it comes to Catherine. I'll play you the footage and then break it down for you. Here it is. So as you'll have seen, there are some prompts which were put up in the course of the video, and as you witnessed, Catherine was listening. You could see that she was actively engaged. Her emotional empathy causes her to focus on the person that she's speaking to, and that she's genuinely interested in what they have to say. That she understands, but doesn't necessarily have to think this way, that it is, of course, polite to listen to the person for the purposes of then responding. Undoubtedly, there will be instances where Catherine finds herself perhaps listening to somebody who isn't that interesting, but her emotional empathy demands of her that she shows that she's listening, that she's engaged, that she's courteous, and so she does. A combination of an instinctive response, but also a node response, that is the right thing that ought to be done. It can be seen that when she's walking down the stairs and she's talking, again, the way that she is looking towards the person that she's talking to, that her body language shows that she's looking in on them, so to speak. Again, it's her innate emotional empathy that is guiding her to behave in this way. Pick any footage of Catherine and you will see that she looks people in the eye, that she gives non-verbal cues. You can see that she's engaged, that she's listening, that she then responds to what that person has said. She's not trying to make it about her. She integrates into the situation. Witness what I explained in the recent video showing her playing rugby. Thus, all of this is demonstrative of the presence of emotional empathy. The footage then shifts to Harry's wife, and you get to see her in yellow, where she looks like she's been switched off. And that's because, as I've explained to you on many occasions, she is effectively empty. Something that South Park picked up on and relayed in their entertaining cartoon parody of the Sussexes earlier this year. But as you've seen in the footage, Harry's wife looks unengaged. She's looking ahead. There's a nod, but she looks as though she'd rather be somewhere else. There's also a lot of the blinking going on, which is as a consequence of the fact that her narcissism is struggling in the situation. It's likely that because she's becoming bored with what's actually happening. Although she'll be given fuel because the person is talking to her, she is not invested in them. She's not interested in them because it's not about her. She's more interested in wanting to talk about what she wants to talk about. And because the subject is boring to her and she has no emotional empathy, even her cognitive empathy, the facade management, is struggling to contain her evident boredom at having to listen to this individual talk about whatever it is. And therefore, you can see the complete contrast with the way that Catherine, Princess of Wales, behaved. It's so much more natural, genuine and warm compared to Harry's wife. And it's not just this particular instance. You'll find lots of instances, as many of which I've shown you recently in video breakdowns and analyses, that show Harry's wife's incongruous responses, that they are more wooden because they're not authentic, they're not genuine, they're not warm. And all of this is as a consequence of the fact that she doesn't naturally know how to behave because she doesn't have any emotional empathy. A short piece of footage, but a useful one, to allow you to see the difference between a non-narcissist, an empath, who has emotional empathy, and a narcissist who doesn't have any at all. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for watching.